And welcome to a live stream number 359. Man, this just keeps on going. I should charge my phone and turn it off. I was like the last minute, I was cooking because I wanted to eat before I did my live stream. And here I am. All right. Follow up with all the questions here. I think there's only one that got emailed into me, which is me and Jay from Learn Linux TV. We're having this discussion the other day. He's been traveling a bit and doing a lot of things, so we haven't been able to line up and do as many of the Homelab show. Trust me, it's not gone. It's definitely coming back for those of you wondering. But we actually were afraid at first to even publish an address for people could send things to. Like for the Homelab show, it's feedback at thehomelab.show. And for Vlog Thursday, it's Vlog Thursday at learnsystems.com. The opposite has happened. I don't get that many emails from people. So I don't have too many to read for the people sending in things. There's a few. I have at least one, but it's super long, which let me see if I need an AI tool to summarize it, but we'll get to that in just a moment. Always fun things there. Let's say hi to all the people in the comments. John, how you doing here? I was following your HA proxy with pfSense. Everything will work except with WordPress. Will not work. Any tips? I can't think. WordPress that I know of doesn't do anything special. So that's not an easy one to answer for me. Because one, I've never put HA proxy in front of WordPress, but two, I can't think of anything special that WordPress does. I guess that we post on the forums the error message you're getting, so we can follow through on the error message and come to some conclusion, because without it, yeah, I can't think of any problems with that. We'll get to WordPress in a moment though, because I just set up a new WordPress server. Good evening from Denmark. Christmas is coming. The time flies. Yes, it does. From the land down under. Awesome. Yeah, so I see someone already posted forum post is probably going to be better for that. Good morning from the land of Oz. Fair enough. Oz is good. Sweden checking in. Oh, I just got my European friends because I'm a little bit earlier. Awesome. Would be cool if Tom did a random person that is having tech issue or want him to review their stack over Zoom for a live stream, say every month. I really have thought about doing this, but I have a problem. I have a risk. And the risk is getting my channel demonetized because I agree to do something with someone and then they find it funny to throw something up on the screen that would then get me in trouble. I would have to know the person before I did it, because that is a risk for sure. It's the same problem when people do the live call-in shows, and I think those were a great idea until I've talked to people that have had, like, you have to have a screening and a delay. So someone's watching going, oh crap, they're now going to flash themselves or do something absurd that you don't want on there. So as much as I love the idea, I fear the internet may not. It would be one of those things if I could just mark that my content could potentially, not intentionally, but could potentially become some type of, not safe for work type of thing. That might be fine, but I can't do that because I would risk my channel at that point. So yeah, that would be, I love the idea. Trust me, I've thought about this a lot of times. And if someone has some angle that I'm missing, a better mitigation, the way they do it, like at radio call-in shows, is there's like a 5-second delay or 10-second delay, and someone's watching the delay. So they have 10 seconds from the time something happens to beep, go off the air and cut that thing from happening in the live stream. So I don't really have that ability. Also, I don't want to have a 10-minute or a 10-second, any delay further than the delay slows down the interactions a lot with the chat. So that can be a little bit of a problem. Hello, Tom from another Tom. Very cool. What I want to talk about, and get this out of the way first. Well, actually, let's do two things here. Let's do this because I want to see if you guys can do a thing. There's only right now about 80 people, but I think 80 people is enough to make a thing happen. I'm going to show you what I want to give you something on here to interact with. So we're going to hit force play. We're going to share screen here. Present, share screen. All right. This is NetData. Talked a lot about NetData. I like NetData. I'm going to be doing some interviews with the founder of NetData soon. We've been chatting. I got some ideas and I want to share with all of you. But this NetData is specifically, and it's hard if it can I zoom it in a little here? It helps a little bit. Does this? Okay, cool. I can zoom these in and out too. This is net data for lawrencesystems.com. And I redid my website. So this is the new updated lawrencesystems.com. I even have this cool carousel of my latest videos that are on here. So definitely check out lawrencesystems.com. But what you're going to be doing, this is the direct effect. All of you that go to my website are then going to see the impact on net data here. I'll peel this up, and it keeps some historical stuff. It'll put little charts together. But what we can let you guys do is all of you can go hammer the website and go visit it. I'm not saying DDoS it. I'm saying just go visit the website, and we'll see how much load goes on the server in real time. I thought that might be kind of fun. We'll see where the ramp up is over here. We can watch this. As a matter of fact, if we scroll down further, I go right here. This actually will show all oh, look, here's the visitor requests. Hey, look, this is you people doing this. So a lot of you have listened because I instantly had 581 requests hit the site. Neat. This is kind of fun, isn't it? Now you're seeing what net data does in real time. What about we pay $20, get a video and do an off-camera stream, and you can record it and really not edit it, or even over Discord? Maybe. I don't know. I have to figure out how to make that practical. And how do I choose someone? Because the people I don't choose are going to be mad. So that's part of it's going to be part of it too. So yes, look at this. You guys are further influencing the net data charts. You make the charts go up. That's funny. Go back up here. So you're taking up this is CPU. Oh man, look, you actually make look how idle. Let's go back, and we're gonna scroll back a little bit here for like the last 6 hours. Apply. It wasn't doing anything until it was pretty much dead. And then you guys, there we go. Now it's stretched out over 6 hours. It's just nothing. And then we go back to here. This was something because I was editing a website. So let's go back and change it back to the last 5 minutes. All right. Oh man, we're hitting 90% usage here. I guess you guys are just mashing the F5. I can imagine that. I have no idea what HostiFi is. Not something I've ever used. Could have achieved similar stats with Prometheus and Grafana stack. Yes, but it would have been way, way harder to do. I can get net data set up in under 1 minute. That's how fast I can set up net data. So we'll do that demonstration here shortly, but the fact that I can, the fact that I'm able to get it set up in less than a minute, probably, compared to, no matter how good you are at Prometheus and Grafana, you couldn't build these graphs out in a minute. Not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with those. I just find this to be a simpler tool to do it. Yeah, I might turn ping back on. Ping is supposed to be on. Matter of fact, I should adjust the firewall for that reason. We are supposed to be able to ping things. I only opened up 80 and 443, but I will open up, maybe we'll do it for the end of this video. I will go in and open up that, because this is running in Linode. I finally decided to build a Linode instance for my website. And this all just runs Apache and everything else. Matter of fact, one interesting thing about theirs. I was curious how I installed net data. I use the curl command on this instance, but I would say that net data is just as good in Docker. It kind of depends on your use case. If I already have a server running Docker, yes. There's no Docker at all on this, so why bother adding the complexity and added pieces of Docker? I don't think there's anything wrong with Docker, but this is a philosophy that I try to keep all the time, is doing things at the absolute minimum necessary to get them done and no more. It's not that I can't do Docker or complicated things. This is a discussion I had internally quite a bit with people of trying to find the simplest solution because it's also going to be the easiest support. Just because we can do this or that, what is going to be the easiest to support, restore, make work properly? And I didn't have any need for Docker. The only things loaded on this site are very simply the components needed, which are going to be Apache and MariaDB, and any supporting libraries to have WordPress. That is it. That's where it stopped. It's got WordPress. It's got only the minimum amount of plugins. I don't like many plugins in WordPress because, once again, I'm trying to reduce threat surface. And then NetData is one piece I added, and you'll find that I didn't open the port to NetData, so I'm pulling this from the site. Technically, I have the port closed, but I use an SSH forward if I wanted to view it locally. So it just comes down to keeping everything at an absolute minimum. I spend a lot of time with Prometheus and Grafana and appreciate anything that's much easier. Yeah, they're really good for collecting metrics, but you have to commit some time into setting them up. Do you think NetData is better than the solution to Zabbix? They're not the same solution. Zabbix can do some monitoring. Zabbix can do a whole lot more. Really, NetData is focused on real-time statistics more than anything else. That's the biggest thing. So, did we kill the site yet? No. My experience, NetData curl method leaves residue. I mean, yeah, if you uninstall it, there might be some components left behind. I'm not too worried about that because this is never going to not have NetData. Database error. Oh, wow. You guys actually hammered it to the point of brokenness. This is kind of funny. DB error. Ooh, we get to troubleshoot my website in real time here. This is funny. I can already answer why. We're going to share the terminal here. It'll start coming up in a second. I did not assign a lot of processors. Oops. I did not assign a lot of processors to this. So this is the result, folks. This is what you did. This is funny. Share screen. There we go. Look at the load on this. The load average, it was 40 when I first logged in. It's coming down now. But yeah, the server got so loaded it couldn't do its thing. So thanks, everyone. Yep. I think it's fun. I wanted to know, and now I have my answer. It's overloaded right now, so it quit responding. Oh, it's please note the number of CPUs at the top. There's the lack of CPUs at the top is the problem. When we know the load test is not going to survive a live stream now. Yes. Matter of fact, going back here and let's share the NetData screen. Because one of the things I'm going to point out is when you overloaded it, look at the gap. You actually stopped it from processing. It peaked so much that NetData stopped sending data. Look at this gap. Boom. So I should probably increase the number of CPUs because basically, look at the system load. The system load hit 80, folks. This is what broke it. It just basically got flooded with requests. But this is the fun of it. You can see what happened. You guys hammered it. You exceeded certain values of it. And now we know what that limitation is. Strange that it hasn't, I wonder if I'm going to look real quick. Did we actually crash is the web server still running? Let's see. What stopped running? I think the database stopped, which is weird. It shouldn't crash. It should just stop until it catches up. So let's see here. Huh. Oh, there we go. Huh. Well, that's weird. Yep, it just stopped. Here, the memory is out of memory, MariaDB. So the other problem with this server is it only has, we're going to fix it right now. Well, this is fun stuff because I'm going to show you guys what I'm doing to fix it in a second here. Yep, it just stopped the database. So we're going to go ahead and start the database again. And all right, it's back for now. All right, this is fun. All I had to do was restart the database. So that's the error was it ran out of memory. MariaDB stopped because it ran out of memory. So that was what caused this. And let's go down here. If we look at the memory, and I did obviously I just built this the other day, and I did not put. So let's come back and last 15 minutes. So here's the memory usage, and right here's where it peaked. Then it started stopping services, and let's play back more. Let's go back and play the last 30 minutes maybe. Because this blog is, how long am I running a live stream? 17 minutes. So give this a second to refresh. So there's our memory usage, which it's running pretty good. Here's where you crashed it. And here it's ramping back up with MariaDB and working again. So cool. Fun stuff. Now, obviously, there's something I'm missing, which is going to be the telling services to watchdog and restart if needed. So, the that's something I could add to this. Definitely fun. Thank you all because this was a fun test for science. I love it. And you can see net data. And this is actually where net data is really good. Real-time monitoring of things. You got to kind of watch in real time what was going on, some of the use cases, what happened, where everything went wrong. And then you got to correlate that with your logs. Matter of fact, I still logged in. There's another tool I have, and we will try to find it here. Trying to find something that doesn't just give everyone's, I don't know if it matters as much if everyone's IP address is in here. Maybe it does. I'll save this for another time. Trying to find out what's a good. I can dump all the logs to show them. I just didn't want everyone's IP address being in there. So let's move on to the next thing. So we did this. Oh, good. Yeah, I can just bump up the resources and solve the problem. Like I purposely wanted to see what this would run like on a minimal single CPU with, hold on, how much memory is this? I think I only have 2 gigs of RAM. So This is single CPU with 2 gigs of RAM, and you guys were able to break it, but yeah. Yes, this is all WordPress. Good plug for Linode, just bump up the resources. Yeah, that might be what I end up doing here. I thought about hosting this in my office because we have a pretty good connection, and maybe I'll migrate it there. I started it out in Linode, but if I host it in my office, I would at that point definitely put something like a Cloudflare tunnel in front of it. But I don't know. It's just easier to host this outside of things. We recently had someone reach out to us that got breached, and we realized part of their breach was they self-hosted their website and didn't keep it up to date, didn't keep the servers up to date, and it appears to be the ingress method for the threat actors. Websites are a lot of threat surface. WordPress has a lot of plugins that can go bad. There's a lot of risk. So if you host it internally, you got to keep that server locked down and separate from the rest of your network, because that becomes the beachhead by which people will get into your network. So you got to be extra careful about that. And it's just like, the Linode instance I'm running right now is $12 a month. Can mitigate a lot of risk for $12 a month. And that seems like a great idea to me. So, fun stuff. Is it worth it to buy a Netgate for Homelab? I'm scary they will limit CE version so much. I don't think they're going to limit CE version that much. People panic about it. It's not a big concern I have. I like the Netgate hardware. I get it though, for Homelab people going, where's your budget at? And if your budget doesn't allow for buying of that extra hardware, I understand you want to run it on whatever hardware you have. So I completely get the trade-offs. Yes, this is all in WordPress. Cool. I might have to look at spooling up a new WordPress server and have a look. They won't limit CE, trying to stop the mass PF plus things like AliExpress. Yes, that's really their goal. It doesn't mean they're great at communicating things sometimes. Just because they're good at writing software doesn't mean they're great at the whole communication side of it. So that's certainly an aspect that's a problem. Now, among the things I did, and we pull this up next, I'm starting to work on some new shirts. So I'll throw this in there. The new shirt design that I threw out here, I'm in an open source relationship, so I thought people might get a kick out of this. You can find all of my swag. It's listed on my site as well. But the whole swag store is at lawrence.video/swag. I have a few more that I'm working on. It's one of those things. I set this all aside because I wanted to get the website launched. The website's launched. So now I got some shirts to launch and some stickers to go with it. So there's a few more things I have to do. It's, I don't have any employees anymore. So I can't delegate this out like I used to be. I still have employees at the CNWR side, but they're not exactly my employees. They're very dedicated to all the things at CNWR, which I also spend still a non-zero amount of my time doing things at CNWR. And that's, I look a lot at the sales process and flow of things. I do consulting too. I'm still consulting on that side, but I'm not completely free of the business side, because I'm always trying to make sure and follow how the customer experience is for all the people that book us and hire us for projects. So it's been a big discussion as of late, because I flowchart things out and everything else. So I run Unraid with Docker containers used for good old Cloudflare Zero Trust tunnels back to my house, and tunnels for self-hosting. Yeah, it's not a bad idea to do that. The nice thing about Cloudflare tunnels is they're easy, and it puts you behind them where there's less risk of someone's not going to DDoS. Well, someone's going to try to DDoS Cloudflare. They're not going to have much luck. You have to be pretty big to bother Cloudflare. So someone has to be really determined. It's not an impossible task, but it's a hell of a task. What if we have a PFSense account just to download the ISO and then register your CE portal? What if we have a PFSense account to download the ISO and then register your CE to the. You don't register CE at all, so I don't really understand. There's no charge for pfSense CE. There's no registration for pfSense CE. They don't have a registration mechanism for pfSense CE. Migrating the UniFi controller from CloudKey to self-host server did not work via backup restore. Any tips or hints? Yeah, do the site migration. You can just migrate from that instance to another. The site migration should work. You should add to the back of the shirt, but my wife is proprietary. Yeah. You got your Cat 6 shirt on. I love the Cat 6 shirts. Those are still my favorite. I don't have that on today, but one of the other ones, designs I'm working on, let me see if I can pull it up in here. I think this one's going to go well. I might get this one done maybe by tomorrow, tonight. I don't know. Depends how inspired I am. I got to convert it to a shirt, but that's this one here. Complete installation of Common Sense complete. Would you like to reboot into the installed system? I think this is going to be a fun shirt. It's going to be like a drop shadow under the shirt. So I like the old shell installer look from BSD. So I think I like these shirts. And I'm not taking any of the other ones down. So the one I got to get back up there is a modern version of Back That NAS Up. I had a fight with the person who claimed they own the copyright to it, and they don't. So the cat shirt is too small for you now. Yes, the dryer will shrink the shirts. It has nothing to do with that trip you took to Hawaii. You go on vacation too much, Cody. Yes. You're referring back to the AliExpress comment. Oh, the AliExpress people they don't care about any of that. They were using their own license key and everything else. So I wish we could remote install Common Sense. Don't we all? Wouldn't that be great? I think that it just sounds like a wonderful thing to do. Oh, let's see. Trying to read this, see if this other person, they should probably make this a forum post. Well, first let's talk about their problem. Let me summarize it a bit here. Someone messaged me, and this is the question they asked. I'm not going to pull it up, so I don't share people's email addresses. Thanks for all your great content on YouTube and the forums. Our help. This is probably a better forum post. This is was just emailed to me yesterday. I have to believe this is affecting many home labbers and their equipment. So the person has a 1.2 gig internet entering the network on a 2.5 gig port on their Netgate 6100. I've been trying to connect one of my UniFi 24 port switches to a variety of ways, SFP, DAC, 2.5 gig auto negotiated. So they're talking about my issue is that unless I fix the connection between UniFi 1 gig, regardless of PC, I'm never going to be able to get more than 25%. I don't understand the math on that. So if you have a 1.2 gig connection coming in, your 1 gig connection is getting the majority of it, but not all of it. I mean, the real thing here is if you have 1.2 gig internet coming in, you will be able to connect to the 10 gig ports because he has a Netgate 6100. So a Netgate 6100 can connect 10 gig to the PCs, but I don't understand. In summary, if I plug in Netgate PC, bypass the UniFi switch as well, I'm plugged in UniFi port, I can only operate okay if the Netgate to UniFi port is fixed at 1 gig. But 1 gig isn't 25% of the rated speed. That's the part I don't understand. Maybe post this in the forums if you're listening to this. So that's yeah, I'm not real clear on that. A lot of people are talking more and more about having over 1 gig connections. It's going to come up a lot. the problem is you're gonna have to get off of your 1 gig networks. 2.5 gig will do it, but not everything's 2.5 gig. I recommend jumping right to 10s. I don't really like the 2.5 gig speeds for compatibility reasons. And sometimes the solution is when you're getting these faster ones, you have to put a switch before the WAN to get the full WAN speed to come in. Because if the WAN speed on your NetGate wants to negotiate to 10, you could then have a 2.5 gig come into the switch, then bring it over to 10. There's one of those cheap switches work for things like that. You actually pull this up. I haven't reviewed it. I've been using it a lot. So there's that. But this little, where did it go? I like this little device. I bought this all the way in September. This has got 4 2.5 gig and a 10 gig port, but unmanaged switches coming in from your ISP to split out your internet to your devices, like your firewall. You're not worried about anyone hacking them. They're unmanaged. And sometimes there are good ways to adapt the different interfaces to get things working. So hopefully I've sent the person on the right track, because I'm not 100% clear on all of their issues. Awesome that you're getting that 7,100 from your employer. Did you ever talk about the silent corrupted ZFS reset upgrade my pool and TrueNAS? And I'm wondering how to mitigate the possible problems. Well, you are in luck. I haven't done a talk about it for mostly the reason that it's just so unlikely to happen. I'm pulling up something here for you. And here's the thing. I'm going to share a different share, present. It's pretty much not likely to happen. It's very, very rare, but obviously huge deal. We're talking about our storage servers. And so here's the command, which is zpool get all grep bclone and block cloning. And there's people who've got, if you go into the TrueNAS forums, they've been talking about this. But what I'm doing here, make it clearer. Whoops. Lost it. There we go. Nope. Cat check block cloning. So zpool get all pipe grep dash bclone and block cloning. So we're just looking at all the parameters and figuring out how much the bclone ratio is, which it's nothing right now. Now, that's not exactly the problem, though. This is where the problem seems to manifest itself, but it's actually a problem that seems to go all the way back to, my understanding last I read today was it goes all the way back to version, hold on. I was having a discussion with someone today. FreeBSD version 12. So it's an old problem. It's an edge case. It takes very special circumstances for it to happen. If I understand correctly, it happens more often with the bclone enabled, but it's not a likely thing to happen. So that's, unless since I read it the other day, my understanding is if bclone's enabled, it could happen. But bclone, the only thing that does that's block cloning is if I'm in one data set and I have a file, tomsfile.txt, and instead of making 2 copies of the file, what bclone does is has another copy referencing the original copy. That's what that's doing. So the challenge is that a common scenario? Not really. Your original file is fine. The corrupted file is the cloned file, the referenced clone file. Now, whether or not this is actually a bclone problem is another kind of question, or does it just manifest itself in bclone? Because there's a lot of discussion on this. So it's a really complicated topic without an actual solution, or it it's not easy to reproduce, so it's very not likely to happen. And if it's been around as long as I understand from a discussion with some developers I had this morning, we're going to have to dig deeper because they got to try and find a repeatable way to do it so they can adjust the code to have it not happen. So kind of interesting thought on that. Any talk on Henry Schein getting hacked twice? Yes. I posted that on LinkedIn. So where did I post that at? Well, I know it's on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is terrible for showing all my activity and posts. So let me go through here. Oh, here we go. I made a meme for it. All right. And where did I put this? There we go. But the Henry Schein post, if I can't represent things in a meme, but it's just cleaning up these large networks is super hard. So yeah, I don't know if there's any easy answer for this other than probably some people are looking for some jobs now. Any videos on what you use in your office build? Currently building a 10 by 12 office space, place server rack in my work environment. Just curious what you did in all your smart automation. Kind of. Let's pull this up real quick. I'll give you a link. I have all the lists. I want to do a video on it. I just haven't really had time. But here's all the things I'm using. There's going to be one more added. I just threw a link in there for all the parts list for all my home automation. And all of my home automation is through Home Assistant. So I have a ZFS 3 by 8 terabyte pool. Can I expand the storage by adding 2 more drives? No. If you have a VDEV that is 3 by 8, you have to add 3 more 8 terabyte drives. Usually switches and routers are expensive. Part of the 10 gig directly, plus those small differences can add in cards up over network or time. Yep. I will see if that's an option. Absolutely. I've been playing with the colors on them. They don't allow me. I got to figure out how they don't allow me to change the shirt types. So I'm going to maybe just re-upload everything because you can't. There doesn't seem to be a way to my in the Teespring system to change the type of shirt. So I might have to take down some shirts and re-upload them so I can choose the other shirt options that have like Heather on them. It's a tedious process. I need someone to manage that store for me at some point, I think. Does site migration UniFi transfer all network subnets users Wi-Fi SSIDs to the new site? Sure does. Oh, wow. I thought it was just in recent versions. I guess that's looking disabling bclone just to be sure. You can't disable bclone. So that's a whole thing. That's part of the problem. Once it's enabled, there's no turning it off. Hey, the bearded IT dad. Weird bug, UDM Pro, country restrictions. Certain US Akamai IP range started getting blocked as if they're international. Anybody know where Ubiquiti's data feed for IPG leakage come from? Nope, that is the mystery. I don't know where they get their feed from exactly. Thanks again for the reminder that Office 365, that 365 and Google are not responsible for backing up your data. True. I almost made a video for YouTube about it, but I got preoccupied with other things, and I don't know how interesting it would be to people, but yeah. Ready to help me build a juiced up PF Sense box? Yes, I am. That is a project we will work on. I have that box loaded. I'm going to, maybe this weekend, I'll test it with PF Sense, and maybe you can get the same box and use it for that. We'll figure something out, but yes, we'll be in touch. You have my number, literally. I have tons of experience with IT cyber sector to go at it and want to go at it alone. The problem with going it alone is a marketing problem, not an experience problem. That is one of the reasons we have our Business Technicalities YouTube channel, and we talk a lot. And you'll find a link to that in the description here of all my live streams and most of my other videos. But the marketing problem is what everyone runs into. It's how are you going to get clients? I have a friend. He watches some of this, but I'll call him out a little bit though. He keeps talking about starting a business, and he makes like just under $200,000 a year. I'm like, you're not going to make that when you first start your business, for one. And how do you plan to get clients? He's really, really good at what he does. That's why they pay him $200,000 a year. But the problem is he has no marketing experience. He doesn't have the business experience. And you have to make the decision. One of the things we talked about on Business Technicalities, me and Jason did a video this year on this topic going, I hate my job is not a business plan. The reason you start a business should be because you have a better way you want to do something. Basically, the entrepreneurial mind is someone who, looks at option A, option B, and says, you know what? I'm going to create option C. I'm going to create something new and innovative in the market. The attitude of starting a business of, well, the place I worked for sucks because, what is, is it? I've seen that sticker a lot in people with shirts that say, the boss makes $1, I make a dime, so I poop on company time. And there's a lot of people that don't understand the whole cost that go into running a business. So they'll see it as their employer just getting rich, but that's not necessary. I mean, I'm not saying there's not bad employers. There's a lot of bad employers. There's actually a lot of good employers too. People don't talk about them as much. So my biggest advice is make sure you understand the marketing aspect of it before you decide to start a business. Make sure you have a process to get leads, because tons of businesses fail not because of they don't have skilled people or good tasting food or whatever the product is. It's the marketing and understanding how to bring business in. We talk about this a lot on Business Technicalities. And once you have that part understood, then you can start the business. It's not the skills gap that's usually the problem. I'm a huge ZFS fan, expanding over time to be expensive for home users compared to Synology Hybrid Ray. What are your thoughts on Synology's better FS implementation with respect to data integrity? I'm working on a follow-up video because I asked our service manager, and he's Matt is the head of service at CNWR, and I simply had a question for him of how many Synologies have we sold at CNWR? As I know how many we sold for Lawrence Systems prior, but how many did we sell and how many failed? And he says, I can't remember any failing, but let me look. And then he says, we still don't have any failing. Synology has got an absolute killer reputation because we've sold a lot of these Synologies and we haven't had a problem. I have two production Synologies, and technically 3, because even though I called it lab, it's got a bunch of stuff heavily running on it and it's just never failed. My confidence is really high in all these Synologies that we have. So yeah, the way they did ButterFS was smart. The problem you have with ButterFS is don't let it control the drives. Synology uses MD80M RAID underneath, very customized by them, and ButterFS on top. So you get all the benefits of ButterFS, but ButterFS thinks it's running on a single drive because the Synology is handling the drives. So Synologies are solid for that. What downsides do you see in Synology, specifically around file system compared to ZFS and such? Not really much. I'm going to still say you're going to get better performance out of ZFS. If someone says, I really want a high performance machine, I generally lean towards ZFS being a little bit more advanced, but for most, especially the home user market, the Synology kills it for them. Synology's a really good offering in the home user market. I think they're solid. Matter of fact, I was a little disappointed, and I commented and they did not reply. I do like the podcast 2.5 Admins, but they were kind of crapping on the Synologies, and I thought that was a little out of. I think they just don't have experience with them, and that was my thought on it. I have a lot of experience with Synology, and I'm a huge ZFS fan. I'm a big open source fan, hence the shirt that I showed earlier. And Synology is not open source. That is the big problem with it, is they are a proprietary company. They're based on open source software, but lots of the products on there are not. So your downside is they're not open source. You're locking yourself into some of the Synology ecosystem. But for some home users, I'm like, it's not a bad ecosystem. It's very turnkey and works well. They're very on top of security. So there's a lot more reasons to like Synology, and they've not been bad. And this is one of the things that sticks for a while. Synology had a bad run circa 2015 of their systems, 2015. And yeah, that's bad, but that was years ago, and people keep bringing it up. It's like there's this. Oh, I remember. And matter of fact, this is what they did on 2.5 Admins. They talked about the Intel Atom processors. I can't remember the name of the models that failed. I can look it up because I can show you actually what I said to them. So I go to their site. Yeah, here we go. Let me pull this up because I'll share the link here for you. But this is my reply. I mean, I'm very public with this. Great episode as usual. I do enjoy their episodes. But they were talking about the Intel Avaton bug from the C2000 chips. And this was also like 6 or 7 years ago that this happened. And I'm like, I get it, but it wasn't a Synology problem. Intel shipped bad chips. All the manufacturers, Synology included, had to deal with the fact that they had built products with a faulty Intel chip. And this was a huge issue. Synology actually was noted in the video by right up from Serve the Home right here. So Serve the Home had an article on it that I had linked to. And one of the interesting things was responses from vendors. Cisco got hit with it. HP, Juniper, Fortinet, Supermicro, Netgate, IX Systems, Synology, ASRock, Netgear. And yeah, it was a mess. Sangoma, every big company that bought chips from Intel did it. And they even commented in here that Synology was actually very on top of completely saying, we're going to extend your warranty. Like Synology did what they could, but how are you're stuck as a vendor when someone ships you like Intel. They didn't go with some off-brand chip and build a product. They went with Intel and Intel let them down. So that was definitely a mess. But they were saying one of the comments on the 2.5 Admins was like, oh no, don't, you got to watch out for those Avaton chips. I'm like, they haven't even sold them in 8 years. So telling someone who was looking to buy a new NAS was the write-in question, and I'm answering, oh, Synology has a lot of those Avaton chips. I'm like, when they've got rid of them. They made an announcement, cut end of sale in 2017 or 2016, whenever that event happened, 7-8 years ago, or 6 or 7 years ago. But yeah. Synology, I've only had one fail me, bought one for internal use, came DOA, got a new one from them a couple days later, running for 3 years without issue. Yeah, we've had pretty much, because we even buy some of their rack ones, which are expensive, and they work well. Thanks for the insights. I don't want to replace my TrueNAS, but think I may use Synology for bulk data such as Linux ISOs. Yeah, it works well. Atom C2000s, yeah. The key to recover from mistake was swift action, and they were all upfront about it. They didn't hide it. They didn't tell you, well, that sucks. They extended the warranty on them for people. What else are you going to do? That Intel C200 bug was a disaster, or it was a C2000 Avaton chips. Big mess. All right, too many tabs open. Close a few tabs. Go back to the net data page. Good, no one's crashed my website again. There's more of you here now. You could probably do it faster now. It's still up and running. This is people catching up, because sometimes people like start the live stream later, and they're probably catching up to this part now. I've never tried it and never really had a reason to try Exponology. It's novel that they have it. And I say I think that's because they have to give away the parts that are open source. So Exponology is forked out of what is open source in Synology. It's like I said, it's neat, but I've never really tinkered with it, because for me, the Synology represents all the things I want to use in it. And what I like to use is, hold on. I'll make a video on this soon. Because people ask this question is what's on your Synology? So I'll make a video about what's on my Synology. But if we look at what the installed packages are, I'm running the active backup for Google. Man, so if you didn't hear, Google had an incident and their incident lost people's data. And I didn't do a video on this here, but I posted on LinkedIn about it. Matter of fact, it blew up on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn post on it. How many shares did that get? It really took off and I was kind of surprised. Let me find it. Uh, so here is my LinkedIn post. I thought I had more posts in this. Oh, yeah, 29,000 impressions. So, yeah, whatever. For LinkedIn, that's good. So 29,000 impressions. Google misplaced some data for people. And that's one of the reasons that I was talking about how you do it. And for me, how I do it is active backup. I back up all of my clouds. And if it's in the cloud, if it's exclusively in the cloud, it has to have a way to get back to me. That's an important aspect of data management. So Google is a good system to manage email and documents for my business side, and it works. So we do it this way. We have it backed up. I also have Active Insights on here. I have some file sharing services. Virtual Machine Manager, I don't use much. I do like this. The Container Manager is really nice. It's just Docker. They call it Container Manager. I only got a couple things in. I do find it quite convenient and works well. So this is the Uptime Kuma and Fresh RSS are the ones in there now. But yeah, it is a solid Docker manager in there. Let's see what else. I'll answer a few questions. FYI had Synology constantly for 7 years, no problem. The thing is covered in dust. It works perfect. Yeah. Sent me an email. All right. Cool. Let me pop this question out. I'll take the time to read this real quick. Thought I'd write here to avoid YouTube comment length. My new NAS arrived today. I'm gonna put my old NAS scale drives in it. The only thing I'm a little worried about is transferring the apps. Would you recommend a backup and restore of TrueNAS, or just clean, install, download the apps, and point them to the config on the ZFS array? The second one. You don't need to adjust the configs for the memory if you do a backup and restore. You don't need to do any TrueNAS adjustments for that. But the apps they're kind of a mess, in my opinion. I don't know why it's like this. It drives me a little nuts. So I have a few apps set up inside of my TrueNAS, but I think I talked about this before. This was my big aggravation with it is I don't have any easy way to transfer this. And if you want to move these between servers, they didn't document it very well at all. And it's just kind of annoying. So I just recommend reinstalling them. That was after goofing with it. I probably could have figured it out, but I'm like, if it's something that is not straightforward to someone like myself, it's probably going to be harder if you're less familiar with TrueNAS. Why they don't have a better way to do this? You can do this in Synology. Points to Synology for making it easy to configure and set things up. But points to the being able to say, hey, let's upgrade all the selected services. They've done a nice job of making this easier to update for sure. So we'll do it live here. We'll update this. So yeah, I recommend making sure all your data is backed up and doing exactly that. You're not going to be able to transfer it easily. I discovered a Dell FM 120x4 and was super excited until I learned that it runs C2000 Avaton chips. What way to see ZFS size in that data? I don't know. Let's look. Does it show? I thought it. let's see, does it? It shows a ZFS cache. Yeah, it shows the status, but you're right, it's not showing the amount used. I don't know. That's a message for the net data people, not me. It doesn't show the storage space in net data. Do you think it'd be a security risk bad practice to back up my smaller clients' respect to my business analogy, 10 tenants, and just charge them monthly? That's a good question. I don't know how well it works for multi-tenancy. That is one challenge. I don't know. I've not tested it like that. We've set these up for people, for companies to back up, but I've never set it up and tested it from a multi-tenancy. If you are going to try to do this yourself, make sure you have multiple layers of backup and make sure you have a plan if you're having problems with it. So, because nobody cares about a backup that works, everybody wants a restore that works. So, you really have to make sure that you do your own DR testing. And that's a lot of risk and that's a lot of liability. And how are you going to make sure you're doing it all securely? You have, those are, it's only reaching out. So you could lock this down on its own network. So it should be reasonably easy to secure because you don't have to open up any ports because it's reaching out to each tenant and downloading the data. But yeah, make sure you have at least 2 copies and make sure you understand how to manage those copies of it before you take on all that risk and liability. Keep all the data in 3 different locations. Yes. You like the comment that hate my job is not a business plan. Yes. If TrueNet Scale corrupts somehow, is there a built-in way to fix it? You don't need. So ZFS is really, really complicated. There's a video I've linked to. It's where Wendell talks about ZFS recovery with I think Alan Jude, who's also another ZFS expert. It's not an impossible task, but it's a very, very tedious task. ZFS is designed in every way not to fail. It takes a lot of things to go wrong for it to have a complete failure. And when all those things do go wrong and there is a complete failure, there's not a lot you can usually do to recover it. So there's not really much in a way of tools for it because it's not supposed to need them. It's supposed to be like, yes, just works. And when it doesn't, things went horribly wrong and you should be restoring from backup. Untested backups are just wishful thinking. Yes. Do you know a way of monitoring VDEV size of Prometheus? Maybe a node exporter? Nope. I've never had anyone ask me to do that. Because most of the other tools that we have, for example, for me, I don't look at it from the ZFS side because I don't care as much. I care about it from here. So I can say, what's my, which one's here? Like this tab. I can see how much storage I have. I'm currently using. I have 2 terabytes and I've got 139 gigs. So I look at it from this side. This is landing on ZFS. So I'm looking at it always from the side of what's using it. If I looked at how much drive space I have on my shares, for example, it tells me how much is left. I'm usually not looking at it from the ZFS standpoint. I got bored with Proxmox. So it wasn't that interesting to me. I did realize there's some things you can't do and as easily in Proxmox that I might play around with a little more because I have an idea. But one of those problems was, hey, maybe there's some Proxmox experts that can actually answer this for me. So let's say you have, how many disks? We have 51 disks in this storage right here. How would you move in Proxmox? Not the VMs. Well, the storage for the VM lives here. The VMs live in the XCP-ng system, but how do you move 51 drives somewhere else to another storage? That is my Proxmox question. I don't know the answer to, because in here, I could just say disks. Well, there's only 22 because some of those are included with snapshots. So I can select all these and I can just migrate them. Can you migrate them all from one storage to another in Proxmox like I just did? Could I do something like this? What if I want to do this in Proxmox? What if I wanted to say, show me the Debian disks and migrate them? I could use tags. I could use a lot of different features here, but how do you grab a bunch of drives at once and migrate them over somewhere else? Or VMs, it's the same thing. I mean, when you're looking at all the different virtual machines we have, it's kind of the same answer. I can pull these by a tag. I think there's a YouTube tag in here. Whoops. There's a Tom tag. There we go. Tags Tom. So here's all the ones tagged by Tom. I can do the same thing. I can migrate or move these somewhere else based on tags. And I can even automate that process as well. So that's one of my Proxmox questions. How is that to do in Proxmox? ZFM was script to export to InfluxDB metrics called Telegraph and sent over metric server. Oh, cool. Isn't it true in Proxmox you can't save the host config like XCPNG? I don't know. Those are questions I don't know that I wouldn't mind doing a deeper dive. I'll message my friends like Jeff from Craft Computing and whoever else is good at Proxmox, and those are good questions for them, where me and Jeff will get together and do a video on it asking those type of questions. That's a really strong example of your prior points XCP&G being better at suited for large scale deployments. Well, and this is where my consulting comes in. If anyone heard the ding over there, it was another large XCP&G consulting. That's why it turned my head. I seen it and I think, oh, that cool. Someone just approved. I mean, we have people running like 2,000 virtual machines. Like, how do you manage those in Proxmox? I don't know. Like, I know how to manage 2,000 virtual machines in XCP&G. I don't know how to manage them in the same way. I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying I'm not familiar with it. And I'm asking someone, and maybe I'll ask Jeff from Craft Computing, who has a lot of virtual machines, like, how can this be done? I got Proxmox running. I want to virtualize pfSense with VLAN, both wired and wireless. I got a network card, TP-Link managed switch, TP-Link on the way. Is there anything else I need? Just the knowledge of how to set it up. Yeah, the knowledge and how to configure all that. That's pretty much what you probably need there. All right. I can only migrate VMs on my Proxmox cluster. I should have used the exact drives and size, but the cluster was an afterthought. I'm only starting the Proxmox journey myself. I tried a 3-node cluster, could migrate a VM from one node to another, but I don't know about filtering or managing tags. You want to manage these with Omada? I'm less familiar with the Omada stuff. I did a review of it a while ago. I haven't really kept up with how much is changing, but yeah, the Omada controller with the Omada line of stuff from TP-Link, it works very similar to UniFi. You manage 2,000 VMs with something like Ansible or Puppet. Well, this gets more complicated. You can manage it actually with Terraform and Kubernetes. This is a Kubernetes system, and they use Terraform to build some of it out because they're using Terraform with XCP&G. So yes. But you can also manage these things through the UI when you say, I just need these VMs over here. Ideally, though, yes, once you have it all configured, the size of the lab that this company has is interesting because a big piece of that's a lab system. Their lab systems have I think their production systems have 1 terabyte of RAM in them, and their lab systems have 0.5 terabyte of RAM, like their staging stuff. Hey, William, haven't heard from you in a minute. Hopefully things are going wonderful, and thank you for the donation. Much appreciated. What do you think of the forbidden Wendell server type? I have an ESX Hope as a TrueNAS and then use TrueNAS instance for storage. I think they're a headache when they fall apart. That's why they're called the forbidden router. It's a fun experiment to understand how to do it. It's a complicated one when it falls apart and goes wrong. I built one for the hell of it. I ran one for a while just to make sure I understood all the intricacies of it. And then I realized um, it's harder for other people to fix. So it's not something I ever want to deploy in production. It was a good me thing. It wasn't probably a good production thing. So you have to weigh your thing. Like, do you want to save money on having fewer devices and make the all-in-one ultimate Homelab system? Not a bad idea. Do you mind the downtime when there's troubleshooting, which may include losing the internet? And are there others who will lose internet that will also be angry about this? Take that into consideration. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. The fact that I have emojis and things. I mean, if your log server doesn't have a log in it, is it really a log server? Oh, and it doesn't just have a log in it. It's got an accent logs for chopping logs up. Right click on node in Proxmox and select bulk migrate. Well, no, the question really is I don't need to migrate where they are. This is where there's a misunderstanding going on here for the way things work. And it's not that I need them on a different server. So these can be on this host. So this host is called Ryzen 2. Or let's just go here. Let's go to my lab run. So if I'm on my lab, my Ryzen, hosts. If I'm on this server, here's all the hosts. I want to move Eric's computer. Eric's VM is currently here. I want to migrate him because this is something I'm actually working on. I need to move the storage of where his target is. He's still running on the same host. He's got to move to a different storage target. Can Proxmox easily group and move to new storage targets? So I have another storage set up. I want to move them all there. That's the part I'm less clear on. I just watched a bunch of your videos on PFSense, so I'll be diving in when the hardware comes in. Your videos have been helpful. Awesome. Proxmox has Terraform and Ansible module, but Terraform is better than Ansible for orchestrating VMs. Yes. TrueNAS can create PVC for external KH cluster and local storage class. Not that I know of. I believe it can only use internal PVC storage, which I know has been a discussion some people don't like. I think about putting my computer in the closet. How do you go about turning it on from in your studio? Wake on LAN is your friend. Set up Wake. As a matter of fact, pull this up here in Home Assistant. See where it says Studio Computer? I don't have the shutdown working, or that would cause a problem right now, and I don't care about the shutdown because I just shut it off. But you can set Wake on LAN in Home Assistant to send Wake on LAN commands to wake up your computers. That's my solution for turning it on, because my computer's in another room. All the computers are. There's no computers in here, only screens. If you watch my video in my studio tour, you can see that. I've used a 3-node Proxmox cluster for years. Well, it works great for my home users. I agree. I don't think it scales well like XCPNG. Oh, yes. Someone log. I remember that. That's fun. Good song. Ren and Stimpy, man. Can Proxmox move a single drive at a time? It's easily, but it doesn't have a UI to let you bulk migrate. So you can move single drives on there. Okay. How do I get, because I end up a lot of questions here. I could stream when I'm working on projects, but I'm not as interactive because I'm working on the project. I don't care if people watch me work on the project. I just don't know how interesting they would be. And I think a lot of people wouldn't watch the live stream of me doing that. So yeah. Um, it comes down to your use casing for those. I mean, what's better, the Xeon or the AMD? I off the top of my head, I don't have processor stuff memorized, but do you need more cores or do you need faster single core speed? That depends on your workload. So that's the not an easy answer. Someone asked me a question today, and I get these questions. Do you think it'd be hard for me to do this? And I always reply immediately to those of, I don't know. I don't know you well enough. When someone posts in a forum, do you think it'd be hard for me to learn TrueNAS? That was a question someone had today. And I just say, I don't know. Well, why not? I don't know you. So I don't know if this is something difficult for you or not. So, and it's the same thing sometimes when people ask you what's better. Unless they're two obviously very different things, like one is a really slow processor and one's a really fast processor. And if they're similar in equivalency, it then comes down to either budget, if that's the concern, or workload. Do you need faster single core performance or better multi-core performance? If you're only running a couple different VMs, matter of fact, this was interesting. We had a free PBX problem with a client, and the problem was caused by too many CPUs being assigned to virtual machines. They thought by increasing the number of CPUs assigned to the VM, they would solve the problem. The problem got worse. So they thought the problem was then free PBX. Turns out if you over assign a lot of cores, and I talked about this in my XCP-NG video, but over assigning cores, over provisioning them can cause you a pretty big problem when all of the cores start going into wait states, and then you actually end up with a slower virtual machine. So there's a lot of little nuance that you have to think about of how much load is going to be on the system. Will these different VMs require that many CPUs at the same time, or will they relinquish that extra compute to the other system? And will it balance out very well? So we fixed a problem by not assigning as many to it is essentially the answer, which is always interesting. I wouldn't have some rando. I don't care if people quarterback me. I've never been bothered by people looking over my shoulder. I don't care. People do it for a long time. And I've never, like, I knew some technicians that I used to work under me. Me watching them drove them bananas. If I stood over them at all, it was like a rage inducing thing. And I didn't do it to make them angry. Some people really don't like that. I've never been bothered by it. So yeah, some people are fast learners, some people are not. Some are more hands-on, some are more visual. Yeah, everybody learns differently. I don't know how you learn unless I know you personally. I may not know how you learn. Even people have worked years for me. I may not completely understand how they learn. Recently tried to install XCP-NG in a Ryzen 5 system, consumer hardware, and install kernel panics and crashes. Idea what to try, or is this a foreign question? Yes. Make sure you're using 8.3. That's the easy answer. 8.3 has all the new updates to solve problems for Ryzen processors. So just go with 8.3. It's almost to be released. It'll be released soon. It's still in beta right now, but I've been running it on all the systems I've been running it on have worked perfectly fine. Over provisioning is a fun game. Yes, it is. There's I that's why I did that whole video on CPU over provisioning, talking about the good, the bad, the what happens type thing. It's there's a reason you can do it, but there's not always a reason you should do it. You have to understand the parameters on there. Not that I'm asking you folks to crash MariaDB again here, but I'm just saying the website's still up and running. For those of you that joined the stream later, I don't know which one of you, or collectively all of you really, DDoS my website into the point of memory exhaustion. So that was fun. Are you talking about cores over threads? I'm more talking about over provisioning where you take a system, and let's look at this this Ryzen. So we have 24 cores running in this right now. And in this system right here, I have 24 cores. So let's take one of my things I spell properly. Actually, let's do it this way. Well, there's one clone. So right here's my Debian 12 lab. And it has 8 cores assigned to it. This has, the one below it has 8 cores. So each of these, I'll span it out like this, 8 cores, 8 cores. But what if we did this? And we'll start with the clone. We'll change the clone to 24. And then we're going to make some clones. And let me call this YouTube, so I can find them easier. Hold on, let me switch screens real quick. So I'm going to switch it so it filters. All right, cool. Bring it back up on the screen here. So this has 24 cores. Let's make a few more of them. So now there's all my clones. And let's start all my clones. So we just started. The first one is provisioned. The next ones are all over provisioned. So we have just greatly over provisioned the system right here. But as long as they don't all ask for all 24 cores at once, this will actually work perfectly fine. I've now greatly over provisioned this particular server by a lot. So I think there's a spot where it tells you that. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember if there was an over provisioning option in here. Yes, 144 of the 24 CPUs. That's how many over provisioned here. So you can do that, but it's not always a good idea. I've been running a XCP&G for 300 days. Did an exact replica of your Ryzen systems. Weren't great. Yeah, these systems are solid. I built them a year ago and they're awesome. This is the over provisioning applies to virtualization. So it's actually going to be a virtualization, whether you're running Proxmox, XCP&G, VMware, whatever your hypervisor is. Over provisioning is a challenge that can happen. So you're digging a little deeper in over provisioning. Let's talk about gigahertz versus cores. Your CPU is 3 gigahertz, but you provision vCPU as 2.5. Have you over provisioned based on CPU cycle? You don't provision based on CPU cycle. You provision based on the available cores you can assign. Explain your business workflows and how you manage this. I guess I need to know what this is. Yes, modern virtualization can manage things, but there's always a but here, right? If you start splitting NUMA cores and stuff like that, you can actually run into that high provision of CPUs causing a problem. They all started, they're all working. Now let's stop them all. Yeah, the ballooning memory is the same problem. I have another video on memory ballooning. And now we're going to let's delete all these. Delete 5 VMs. Why not? There, they're all deleted. Can you give the spec of your Ryzen systems? I'll just give you the link to the video. I think I'll find it. If you search my channel for Ryzen XCP&G, I did a video on it, and it's got all the parts lists in it. Over provision mean your CPU, all the VM, P core issue over provision is how scheduler handles the processing request. Yes, will cost more to schedule process than to work. Yep, you nailed it. Yeah, if you try to build a kernel on there, yes. What is the best server to build with security and forward node monitoring 10 gate switch? A really fast one. You probably need to post in the Security Onion forums to get a better spec, but Security Onion requires a fast system. I've never used Overt, so I don't have any opinion on it. So I don't know. We ran into problems due to over provisioning. Oh yeah, you run into problems if you over provision. It's not the best idea. It is not going to be the best idea to do that. Yeah, Dell does make some nice R640s. You have to figure out how much your data run rate is, and that is a hard thing to calculate unless you set up a tap and just trying to figure out how much volumes of data you're going to process. Because if you have a log requirement, and this goes for any SIM tool, if you want to do full packet capture, awesome. If your company's moving 200 gigs of data, 300 gigs, 300 terabytes of data, whatever those numbers are, and you're tasked with keeping it. I know from my friends that work in some enterprise tech places that have a lot of data responsible, they keep petabytes of storage. One of the biggest expenses, not just the license for all the SIM stuff they do, but the storage servers that they have to manage it all. It's immense. It's millions of dollars in storage. It gets crazy really quick for how many locations they have to keep all this data for. I mean, I know we were talking and where my friend works, I think they're just the cybersecurity budget, just the cybersecurity side, which is mostly the SOC and SIM people and some triaging and things they do, was 72 million a year was what their spend was just for that division of the company. That the security stuff, if you want to do it right and do it with full logging and full packet captures and everything else, it gets expensive quick. I had a discussion with this with someone else. They just seem to have a hard time understanding why it was so expensive to have a switch and a full monitoring system that did 100 gig. I'm like, I don't know how you think that this would not be this expensive. They were trying to get PF Sense to do 100 gig, and I'm like, it's just not going to do it. PF Sense is not the system that's going to do that level of speed. Uh, Yeah, CloudStack and OpenStack are interesting too. Oh, Okta has the budget. They just aren't allocating security the same way we expect them to. So Okta's, yeah, less ideal. Um, oh, which one was I? Too many things open. There, share this tab. Do you take ZFS snapshots of your TrueNAS data sets for XCVGs, VM backup? I asked because it seems redundant snapshots, VMs, and XOA, in addition to taking ZFS snapshots of the data set. It is redundant, but the reason you might want to do that is how often are your backups running? You're only as good as your last backup. And if you're snapshotting more often, maybe those VMs, it comes down to timing. If you're backing up frequently enough that it doesn't matter, then don't do it. If you have the storage space, which I do both. As a matter of fact, you can even do things like do ZFS snapshots maybe hourly, and then you have hourly backups, and you can say only keep 12 hours of these, so you don't have that many. It just comes down to what strategy. It is redundant, you're not wrong. I like redundancies, but I'm not going to recommend it to everybody. I mean, this is always when people say, I want the best backup system. Awesome. You didn't say budget. So let's start here. And then they go, oh, no, I want the best backup system, but my budget is, because, we don't mind working with clients to help figure out what their budget is. But a lot of people start out with my budget's unlimited until they start thinking about what it takes to build really, really intense systems that have backups of all these. So you just got to start with a budget on these. Thank you very much, Amber, for the super sticker, and appreciate the donation. Snapshots and rubric. What is rubric? I know that name, but I don't know. Okay, they're another backup company. We use Veeam at CNWR. Rubik Security Cloud. Okay, just seeing what it is. I know I've seen the name, but it's not a tool we use. Thoughts on Cisco purchasing Splunk? I mean, I'm seeing this in the headlines. What? But my first thought was, Cisco is spending $28 billion on Splunk. Are they just renewing their license? Splunk is already an expensive company. They're going to fit right in with Cisco. So I don't use Splunk, so I don't really have much of an opinion on it. I mean, I don't really think the consolidation of all these companies, the VMware purchase is another one, is in any way good for people. There's just nothing about these mergers that are good for the consumers that use these products. The only upside is they have a really nice write-up over at Vates talking about, and I'll bring this up because I think this is a good discussion that we can cover. And oops. Because it's right in their latest news section. And that's going to be this article here. I'll drop a link for anyone that wants to take the time to read it. The new virtualization landscape. It's just, things are changing. And I think we're going to see more people looking at solutions like XCP-ng and getting off of VMware because there's nothing about it. So there's nothing good about the whole purchase there. I don't think so anyways. I've not used Nutanix. I don't know much about them. My understanding is they're running Linux and KVM on the background with a big expensive license, but I don't know what makes them good or bad, or if they're good or bad. Oh yeah, you're not wrong. ZFS snapshots may not you're always going to have data in flight problems. So you have to understand what your data in flight problems could be. Yeah. It was probably cheaper than renewing the license. But no, this article here talking about the changes in the virtualization landscape. I mean, the nice thing is we have quotes right from the CEO, what they're going to do, which is raise prices. They're very clear in all this. This article breaks down, lots of things on this topic. And I find it really interesting. There's a lot to talk about here in terms of, thinking about how virtualization looks in the future. Yeah, there was some, let's see. There was a good article in the Register about this because they were snarky as usual. Oh, here we go. And it begins. VMware layoffs are creating significant concerns and chaos amongst customers and partners and everything else. Yeah, no shock. Thousands of VMware employees absorbed last week by Broadcom open emails today without knowing if they had a job once they finish reading. It's a combination of disgust and disappointment. Shocking. So it's not just bad for us consumers, it's also bad for the people working there. There's nothing good that comes out of these big deals. They're just not. They're generally a market disaster of consolidation. I don't know. I'll rant on that topic another day. Back to what's on my Synology. My train of thought came back to that. So I run some Docker stuff. I don't run any virtual machines. I do run Synology Photos. This is really good. I also have this Synology manages my other Synology to keep it up to date. So I never log into the other Synology. It's just my video server. Should be, yeah, it's fully up to date. Test connection, policy, task. Yep, everything's working. Yep, nothing needs updates. So that's the Synology connection system. What else is on here? Not much else. Logs. I was playing with the Synology mail server. I kind of got bored with that. MB runs in my Synology. It works really well. I don't have MB publicly exposed. No real need for that. I don't know. I don't have a ton of things on my Synology, I guess. My company paid Nutanix for 2 data centers for failover, storage, and VDI, but I just called it VD because they could not make the system run well since we do 3D renders. Yeah, that is a challenge. Sandy snapshot protection for storage level encryption attack. VM snapshot is best for restore VM. Finally caught you live. Now I can't find any questions in my head to ask. Thanks for all your knowledge and sharing. Awesome. I wish the website GUI had the ability to map your photos like you can on mobile. Oh, yeah. It would just get forked again because, I mean, Citrix was this not really owned because it's forkable and it's open source, but Citrix was the steward of the XCP or the Citrix Zen server project for a while. And obviously they were not good at it and Vates took it over. So yes. Yeah, Veeam can store files within a VM without restoring the whole VM. We run Nutanix, AVH, and ASXi. It's great for us. Hyperconverged is the key. Yep, and I seen you emailed me, Brett. That is, I'll respond to that person. What? I don't understand where that came in. I think they filled out the wrong form. Is I think how that got there. We have 2 forms on our website. One says, "Are you an existing customer?" Another one says, "If you're not, contact sales." And sometimes people go, "I must be an existing customer," and they start filling things out. When's the next BT episode? They're generally on Tuesdays. Okay, so that did come through the ConnectWise Manage system. Oh, here's something. This got asked earlier. And if you want to know what me and Brett work on, and maybe this will be a topic that we'll cover later. Let me bring it over to this screen. I'm trying to think there's a better way to present this. Oh, I know. Hold on. Export as HTML. Export. Cool. If I do it HTML, it's actually easier to present. As soon as I figure out where I saved it. Oh, it doesn't look as pretty. You know, I'm going to share it with the other system because I can zoom in and out easier. It's going to look better if I do it this way. But someone had asked what I'm doing earlier or how we do workflows. I'm going to share what me and Brett were working on. This is still something ongoing, and maybe this will. Yeah, if you email Vlog Thursday, it'll get to Brett. I make sure all this stuff gets there. So if you email questions to vlogthursday@lawrencesystems.com, I will just forward them over to Brett's personal email. We have an internal Slack channel for business technicalities. I can just drop the questions in there. That part's pretty easy. But I'm going to show you what we were working on. Where did it go? Losing things. There we go. But someone asked about workflows and stuff like that. We're updating our booking workflow. This is some of the stuff that I work on when I'm at CNWR is process flow for how customer experience happens. Now, Brett is head of sales at CNWR, so that's Brett's job. So I, though, care about customer experience and the consulting side of it. So me and Brett will work together to make sure that the sales team understands what we're selling, how we're selling it, and how the process from the time someone says, I would like to hire you for a thing, and how that thing occurs. Yeah, spell check. Hey, we aren't to the spell check phase of this. Why spell check things until we know I have all the right words in it? So yeah, this will make a good business technicalities video. We can walk through the workflow of once we get it right and once we have it done. It's not done yet, but that'll be one of those things where we talk about HubSpot linking and workflows, because this is actually an important process when you're in business, is making sure everyone can watch the workflow, know what their task is in that workflow, so things work. It's as simple as that. Everyone should know what they're doing. And this is easy as a small 1 or 2 person company, but we have almost 30 people. And that means there's a lot more to do. And Brett's been making fun of me for the spell checking, because things are not spelled well in there. And I was like, yes. My existing customer, I have a little orange mark next to my green name. I demand fully overhaul my network with our implied warranty, service, and fitness. No. Tom, since UniFi no longer has hardware, have you heard anything about the Wi-Fi 7? Nope, I have not. I don't care much about the faster Wi-Fi speeds. I never need them. If I want it fast, it's going to be hardwired. If our clients want it fast, it's going to be hardwired. I broke my Scale apps when I updated to Cobia today, reverted, still wouldn't start, ended up just manually reinstalling, still running TrueNAS. Next time, backup app settings. That's not easy. That's one of my points with TrueNAS, is they have not made that easy. So, LinkedIn DM is fine. Those get scattered because so many spammers are on LinkedIn that send me the most generic BS stuff. Sometimes I get lost in all the messages in LinkedIn. Oddly, I don't get that many emails to Vlog Thursday, so that's actually a better way to find it. There's not that many people that email that. Where did the Lawrence and Lawrence Systems come from? My name is Tom Lawrence, and I'm not clever at naming things. That's so they ended up with my last name because I didn't know what else to call it. That's the challenge. Maybe I missed it. Your recent videos in HL15, 45 tries. Did you get one? Yes, I got one. I have been so busy, I haven't had time to review it. So I will be maybe soon, like this weekend. I don't know. I have a couple projects. I wanted to get my new website launched, and I did. So if you weren't here for the earlier, I'll drop it again. Oh, and by the way, people broke my website. So that's the thing that happened. But just head over to lawrencesystems.com. I relaunched my website, and people then crashed it here on the live stream, which was awesome. And so that project is now off my plate, and I feel happy and excited about it. So yes, my wife will give a different story about the name, I think. I don't know. I'm not clever at naming things. It's really as simple as that. If I was clever at naming things, they'd have better names. I use my last name because I had it already. It was like, what are you going to call it? Lawrence Systems, because I'm working on it. They have other ones with SAS SSD, so I don't think it's necessary to have this in HL15. It's not a need. But I need to shuffle servers. So maybe I will do the server shuffle and include the 45 drives and the servers in it. Yeah, I got to reload some servers, and maybe I'll make a video about reloading all the servers, because then I can cover kind of the Homelab review and everything at the same time. So I work on that. It's a project. I really want to. I feel bad. It's just sitting there. I haven't turned it on. I turned it on. It's physically it was on, and then I powered off because I haven't put drives in it. So the yeah, I need to get back to that. Have you seen their network really saturated network with spinning drives? Yes. And that's one of my things. Like the performance you get out of the spinning Rust drives, my 45 drive server, which by the way, let me pull this up. This is the one I got to rebuild. This is my Q30 server. And because there's so many disks in this, so we storage disks. I mean, this has 27 drives in it. With 27 drives, these are all spinning drives. They're 14 terabyte Seagates. They're outperforming my SSD pools. I have a RAID Z1 with SSDs that are getting outperformed by spinning Rust. How many drives do you plan on using? Yeah. Yes, Monster Murder. Yes, definitely like that. Server shuffle is going too many drives in one place, not enough in other. So, oh, is that the? Yes. That is the Huntress logo. I'm not going to take it down because it's tricky to get back up, as I've learned. I've almost broke it a couple times. That is so. Huntress, when they reached 2 million endpoints, they sent some of us OG people who work with Huntress these plaques, and so I stuck it behind me because it looks cool. I think it's awesome. So that is a Huntress platinum album for 2 million endpoints. I'm friends with the people at Huntress. They're just good people. Oh, it's funny. Whenever I mention the website, hey, look, people went and visited the website. Did they break it again? Nope. not a request to break it again. I'm just seeing. Yeah, the see, I when I started hanging out with the people at Huntress, they only had man, I'm trying to think here. I think they had like 8 employees or 9 employees. They have over 300 people working there now. So they're a much bigger company today than they were. Is this a more recent one? Or is this an old video? I've seen the old video. I don't know if there's a new one. Or, I mean, I don't always know. Trying to decide what I should do next. How long do I keep the stream going for? I don't have any commitments today. What is an endpoint defined as? We manage a lot, but 2 million. No, I don't have 2 million endpoints with Huntress. Don't misconstrue that. Huntress has 2 million Windows machine. Well, more than that. I think they're in the 3 million now. Does that was from a while ago. That was from, I think, almost last year. I don't know what their count is right now. Probably in the 3 or 4 million range. That is the total number of Windows servers that they have, or Windows systems they have, not necessarily servers. I haven't really been doing any new hot sauces, but they're on my website. So that section remained. I did find, now that I'm older, I can't eat hot sauces like I used to. So that's unfortunate. So I haven't really been doing. I can't do Reaper peppers anymore. I still like hot sauces, but I've leaned back down into things not hotter than habanero. So super jealous. We have Huntress used since early 2020. I think we started with Huntress either in 2016, 2016 or 17. We were pretty early in on there. So yeah, don't take it as me having 2 million. I'm not that big of a company. Nope. I have no experience in any of those Dell series ones at all. Oh, worth mentioning here. I'm going to maybe keep expanding on this, but I read a lot of books. So I started putting all the books on my site. So if you want or are interested in those, no, unfortunately, this is something I've been complaining about. There's no easy or good way to back up the TrueNAS apps. That is unfortunate. Hot Sauce says, would you do the Hot One show? Oh, yeah. I mean, I would do it. I don't have anything that interesting. Like, I'm not a public figure like he would normally interview, but I do like Hot Ones. I think it's great. But yeah, I've got a good list of books here. I've read all these books. The old ones from the Art of Intrusion. I have more to add. I just wanted to get these ones. These were recent ones when I could rattle off a list, but I'm going to put more tech books on here. I only recently read this one, which is Where Wizards Stay Up Late. It's a really good book. These are, well, these are all good books. There's a reason these ones made the list. I can't think of ones off the top of my head that haven't. And I haven't decided if I should put the business books on here or not. That's more of a mix. I read a lot of business books and psychology books. I just finished one of the books I just finished is this one here. Let me pull it up. So this was a book I just finished called How Minds Change. I highly recommend this book if you want to know how people change their mind about things. And you're probably thinking, well, why would someone who's in tech want to understand people, blah, 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 and change minds? Like, this seems like an off topic for tech. And it's actually not. And this is why. The discussion guide is great. If you just follow that link and go to the discussion guide, they have this really simple, what is this, 5 pages together, but one of them is a cover. So 4 pages about better arguing, cognitive empathy, assimilation and accommodation, the effective tipping point, reasoning ain't logic, and steps to doing persuasion. Now, this matters a lot because people go around saying things like, oh, man, it's hard to get people to lock their computers up. It's hard to get people to follow good security practices, et cetera, et cetera. Well, me, as someone who wants to first learn a thing and then teach a thing to people or teach all the things I've already learned to people, this matters quite a bit because I can't just complain that people don't do a thing without me putting some effort into bringing it to their understanding so they do it. So this is actually one of those things I think a lot about, and this is why I read so many books that are more psychology based to understand and connect with people better and as the title of the book is How Minds Change. So yeah, follow that link and just read. If you don't read the book, the study guide's free. You can just read through it and it's pretty cool. So any good audio for MSP specifics? I've listened to Carl and Mikwas. I think if you understand business, then you'll understand the MSP side. So the books I'm going to recommend is probably going to be the Traction. I think that one's really good. It's a business book. It has nothing to do with MSP. Let me pull it up here. I'll drop a link here for it. But Traction, definitely one of the books that I'm going to say is good to read. This is one of them I read that helped me a lot with business. And the other one is going to be E-Myth, the E-Myth Revisited. I recommend that one. Ghost in the Wires was really good. You're right. I you know, I don't think Hollywood would do the movie justice, but yeah. I bought a cheap router with pfSense for someone wanted to make it a router for my parents. OpenSense, pfSense plus Pi-hole WireGuard. What do you recommend as the OS? I brought a cheap pfSense router from someone. I want to make it from. Yeah, I mean, you can run PF Blocker on pfSense. So I'd recommend pfSense and run PF Blocker. Do you have any experience with self-hosted NVRs? I tried Motion Eye. It was fine. Lack of audio support was deal breaker. ZoneMinder was next, but CPUs was too high. No, I don't know any of them that are good. That's the problem. I just got my HL15. Haven't unboxed yet. Anyways, looking forward to Houston, but trying to read either Proxmox or, as you mentioned, as a Linux boy. Any further thoughts? I will probably be running Linux with Houston on it. That's the most likely scenario of it. Yeah, eMyth Revisited and Traction, put them at the top of your list for as a business owner. Home server cabinet that isn't too massive. If you get one that's not too massive, what are you going to put in it? That's part of the problem. There's not many movies that do a good job of capturing some of the hacker culture. I think the closest you come is no, Mr. Robot I liked. Mr. Robot was an interesting series. I've been running Shinobi for a few months. It ticks the box. I like the interface, but I'm curious what else is out there. Besides Shinobi, that's the only other one I could recommend besides ZoneMinder is probably Shinobi. There's not much out there, and there's not much incentive for anyone to create something out there. So yeah, it's very limited. I gave up on Blue Iris and just bought Reolink NVR and banned it from the internet and pfSense. Yeah. Hackers was good. Yes. Yeah, Nave Point makes some good ones. I've done some reviews on the Nave Points before. Can NetData collect KVM VPS or can only collect data from Proxmox? I don't know. I've never tried it with KVM. So look, they have good documentation on their site, but I don't have a KVM server to test that on. I'm using the StarTech adjustable one. I like that, but I adjust it all the way out. Like I have it really big, and because it's the best way for me to have it set up. Do you think a Zima board with 2 SSDs would be enough for learning TrueNAS? Yes. Learning, yes. Using, maybe not so much. But learning-wise, you can definitely play with it from a learning aspect. Matter of fact, when I was labbing things out for some demos, I did it all on a, what do you call it? The Zima board with 4 drives with the other one. So, yeah, Sneakers from 1992. That was a classic. I don't know. I don't know if it's a movie that would hold up. And I say it like that because sometimes you go back and watch the old movies and they don't quite hold up to be as good as you remember them back in the day. You know, you didn't realize just how bad some of that was. Are the Quotoms any good? They're okay. I wouldn't call them great. They're definitely not the same quality as a Netgate hardware, but you save a few dollars. They have a much higher failure rate. For as few as we've bought, we've seen a high failure rate on those compared to any of the Netgate hardware. But they did last a couple years, so that seemed reasonable, I guess. They seem to have ports die on them. I have another one laying in the other room that's got a dead port. It's got 4 ports, but only 3 work. The other one just died one day, and it died at a customer. Is it possible to install cubes on a regular desktop? I don't know. I haven't tested cubes in years. I had a friend that ran it. My friend Phil did for a while, but I never did it, so I couldn't tell you what it does or doesn't support. For cheap PF Sense box, just get a desktop, replace the power supply if needed, and a quad port Intel NIC. Yes, but that sometimes can be more power consuming, but it comes down to space and what works for you. Any experience on a UniFi Express? No, they're too new. And last I heard, they were sold out. UniFi doesn't send me things anymore, and I'm fine with that. They seem to get angry at me because I dumped on their product for a couple of their products for being bad. And so that made them stop sending things to me, I guess. I never really knew why. I don't care. I just buy stuff from UniFi. So some of my friends get the stuff first. And I have to buy everything myself. So I may not get, they get, see, I'm friends with all the people that did the reviews, like Crosstalk Solutions and everything else. And, so I know who has what when, and then they're under embargo before the release dates of those things. It's just how it works. Have you played with any AM5 ASRox boards? Nope. Wendell's a better person who knows a lot more about that than me. We just don't build servers for people. We buy servers. We buy Dells. We buy Supermicros and Lenovo's. So we're not someone, I never tinker and build with them. Almost never anymore. Can NetGate boxes be loaded with OpenSense? I've never tried, but it should work. They're both running FreeBSD. Thoughts on deeper connector USB dongles? I never use USB dongles for things, so not very often anyways. I tried a Docker host with 2 WireGuard containers, each with a different VLAN, but fail on the road, still experimenting. Huh. HP's not on the list of servers we want. Yeah. You're having issues with the UniFi 8 and trunk ports. It does not work. As far as I know, it works. I mean, I did some videos on it, but I'm not trying it specifically with what hardware you have. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I lack some context for your statement. We haven't used the Carbon Systems desktops. No, I didn't. I don't think we've used those. We use a lot of those little Lenovo's for desktops. Those work really well. Deeper Connect is supposed to add crazy security with a VPN and advanced firewall. Never heard of it. I don't know. There's always some new company with some new idea that try to reinvent everything. It works, just the UniFi controller GUI on the connected device does not show up correctly. Good morning from down under. I'm looking for a new podcast focusing on network server admins. Any recommendations apart from 2.5 minutes you mentioned earlier? There is one called, where's it at? Make sure I get the name right. Huh. This is interesting. Actually, I just opened up my podcast app. I listened to 509 episodes here. This is my phone's letting me know. Let me go back to one. Let me go back. Yeah. 42 different shows, 509 episodes. That's a lot. Here we go. Risky Business. I really like the Risky Business podcast. That was one of them. Hold on. Let me send this. I want to watch this story that it just gave me later, and I don't know how to bring it back up. So let me send that data somewhere. Send. There we go. All right. Now I can go to my podcast app. There's another one called, I think it's called The Art of Networking. I just got to do a search. There we go. The Art of Network Engineering. That's another good one that I like. Security Now. Steve Gibson with Security Now is good. The better question is ECC at least twice as reliable as non-ECC? No. I don't know that it's twice as reliable. Oh, what camera are you using for the live streams? A little quick focus change. So this is there you go. There's a really shallow depth of field. I can touch the camera. So you can see I'm that close to the camera, and I'm using one of the art lenses on a Canon EOS 100 Mark II. This is actually, it's crazy what this camera is still worth. This camera's from 2013. What is the model here? C100, I think. Yeah, there we go. Well, let me find it at a better price, because I know this isn't what they're going for now. There we go. B&H still sells them. Holy crap, they're still going for even more. I might even sell one of these. I keep debating about selling it, because even though it works so well. So this camera is it's discontinued. Used, it's still $1,800. I paid less than that for it. It's weird. It's worth more than I bought it for in like 2018. Release date. When was this camera made? So here, the release date was, I was wrong. It's not from 2013. It's from 2014. This camera's 9 years old. Mine's the Mark II, which came out like a little bit later, like 2017, but it's a cinema camera. It looks great. Could Wireguard be using a VPN when traveling? Sure. It requires a hard IP, and at least on one end, but not both. So you can use it while you're traveling. You'll just have to accept any IP for the remote end. The new site may be down again. Did you guys break it again? Yes. We'll go back over to share this tab instead. Yep. You guys DDoSed it again. Yep, you DDoS my site. That happens. Maybe I'll increase what the site can handle. What did we set the load all the way up to? This has been fun. This has been people breaking my site. Sorry, I didn't put this up. But yeah, I see the spikes. There we go. We'll just go in and see what's not running. So let me SSH into it. Oh, this time we killed Apache. You guys, first you break the database, then you killed the Apache server. Thanks, people. Yeah, the connection refuses that. We get a lot of hits on the site. I think there's people here just absolutely mashing the S5. Oh, I'm old school. I went to Pat. Look, I thought I was going to do Whoops. Why isn't that? Sorry, I do have a hard time talking when I'm typing. There we go. Let's see. Did that fix it? Hey, it's back again. We're playing whack-a-mole here with the live stream. How to be unafraid of the CLI. Use it a lot. Apache. Why Apache over Nginx? Because I don't remember. Well, I do. I have vague memories of Tuesday. Tuesday was Tom getting really aggravated because he couldn't figure something out in Nginx. So I switched it to Apache. I don't know. Real question is, why did Tom's systemd not automatically restart the Apache? Because it couldn't restart it. There was no memory available. So the other process went stale is what I think happened. I will go through the logs later because the services aren't starting because it runs out of memory. I got to put some limitations on there so they don't do that. Or I'll stick Cloudflare in front of this so people don't do it. Because I haven't integrated it yet, but I could always just put either Akamai or Cloudflare, put that in front of it for bandwidth, and because the content's really static, it doesn't need to serve it up. I could just cache the content instead in hammering the database. So you should go watch all the videos on Learn Linux TV's channel. Even if swap is full, yeah. It ran out of memory. I went and looked at why Apache. That's why I was looking at why it crashed before I started it again. So yeah, there's a pretty massive amount of things people are doing here. What were they hitting? The icons, something else here. I was looking through the logs real quick. Yeah, there's like 3,000 hits on this site right away. So thanks, folks. Matter of fact, let's do this and I can share the screen. Var log. Oops. Yeah, I parsed it. You guys pulled 3.8 gigs worth of data and 46,000 hits. So that's that's what broke it. I don't get that many hits normally. Just curious to work with Juniper switches firewalls. If so, what do you think? Juniper makes some nice stuff. I don't have a ton of personal experience with it. Perfect use for Kubernetes and horizontal scaling. Yeah. Free load testing for sure. Testing and troubleshooting infrastructure in real time. Yes, we are. Let me close the million tabs I have open. But someone asked what website we're talking about. Just for here, let's go around this circle again. LawrenceSystems.com, my website. I updated it, and then I asked people to test it, and test it they have. You're actually watching this screen is a net data real-time capture of my website, and people have been hammering away until it runs out of memory. Oh yeah, low orbit ion cannon, fun stuff. You could do a few Docker instances running as a service using HA proxy in front. Oh yeah, there's different ways I could set this up. I just didn't. The biggest thing is this thing's very resource constrained because it only has a single processor and 2 gigs of memory. So most of the problems are, it would actually take up more memory to start running more services and proxies in front of it. That wouldn't necessarily solve my problem. I could just add resources because that's an easy way to solve the problem. Maybe address the fact that with the VLAN trunk equals broken in new UniFi version that allows VLAN trunk ports, you need to use hybrid VLAN 1, untagged TLAN, the rest, which is meh. Okay, if you don't like that setup, then don't use UniFi. I don't understand. Hey, thank you very much, DB Tech. FBOffense.js. Is that in there somewhere? I don't think I have anything for, well, no, I don't think there's any Facebook in here. Or is one of the plugins looking for that? I don't see it. I don't know. I'd have to go through all the queries on it to see if there's some plugin. I had to load a couple of plugins. I do have Google's analytics in there, but I don't think I have any Facebook ones in here. I don't see it. You can email me if there's some concern you have on that. Couldn't you offload the resources? Yes, I could. I have. It's in the cloud now. I just didn't give it much cloud. My ad blocker and Bitdefender are blocking. Yeah, I embed the analytics in there. I got HubSpot analytics. I've got, maybe HubSpot does something else to figure out the Facebook side. HubSpot and Google Analytics are installed on my site, but I don't do, if you come at my site with an ad blocker, nothing happens. Like I make no changes. I'm completely respect people who want to use script blockers can block script. It doesn't affect your experience on my site. You're getting a connection is not private error. That I don't know why you're getting. It is HTTPS and the certificate's valid. Yeah, there's a Facebook button at the bottom that links to my Facebook site, but I don't think it has any. It links to Facebook, which is right. But it links there, but it doesn't. I didn't embed the Facebook cookies in here. Or the Facebook tracker in here, I should say. Refreshed and loaded after you said that. Cool. What did you change about your site? I completely redid the website. So it's not just what I changed. It's a completely redone site. The site used to be about my IT services, but since we merged with CNWR, I now made the site about my channel and what I do for media creation. And I have everything explained from the split merge. I have the video embedded about our merger. I have a graphic. Matter of fact, do you notice the little things we did? I love this. This is from the designer, not me. But when she built this, like, hey, they're separate over here. And then the circles are a Venn diagram of, two separate companies merging into one. Just a novelty of it. I don't know. I like the little subtle things on here. You're new here, but you think the site look good. Thank you very much. F12. I know how F12 does the VED tools. I don't know what you're looking for. If you have some concern, email Vlog Thursday. But I know there's a bunch of tracking that got embedded because we use HubSpot is how we have the hire us forms work. And I embedded the HubSpot tracking inside of here. So this is all HubSpot. So there's whatever HubSpot has. And I use Google Analytics, kind of. I have the Google Analytics data in there, but I look at the logs differently than Google Analytics. I'm actually using a tool. I'll show you here. So stop, present, share screen, window. This is a tool called Go Access. And this is how I view the logs. So I don't have to know how many things. If you're, for example, Google Analytics shows me way less people than actually hit the website. Why? Well, that's really simple. People have ad blocking, which is fine. So when I want the real logs, I SSH into the system and I can look up the actual logs that are in the system. And that's what all this is. Which, by the way, like I said, you folks have hammered at this site. Every time you hit refresh, you'll see the total requests go up. So those are all the site requests, 47,000 of them. I mean, not bad for a single processor, but obviously I've run it out of memory a couple times now. Which that's going to happen. People are probably going to rewatch the live stream, visit the site, and it's a thing. People do that. I'm fine with it. It's not that big of a deal. That's why we do things the way we do. But yeah, check out all the stuff on here. Let me know if you see something that you have some comments on the site or whatever. I'm always open to feedback and updating things and clarifying things more than anything else. I try to be very clear with what I do and how I do it. So I've done a video on this tool, Go Access. It's great. If you're looking for a good tool for viewing logs, Go Access is definitely or viewing aggregated data of like Apache logs. It's great. Is there any more questions? How much memory is assigned to the site? Right now, the site has like 2 gigs and 1 processor. So that's where the challenges come in. 2 gigs and 1 CPU is definitely not a lot. Here, I'll pull. Let me switch here to this. Oh, there goes. Someone's hammering away at Apache again. I see. Yep. And someone just wants to see the site go down again. And then here comes all the MariaDB requests. Oh, look, watch it climb. Watch the memory climb, climb, climb. I should stop doing this. I'm encouraging people to do it. 2 gigs in 1 server. Yeah. Yep. It'll do a good job until it doesn't. I should stop showing people this. They want to see the numbers go up and crash it. Oh, yep. And here we go. Limits have been reached. We just ran it out of memory. This is great. Crashing Tom's website in real time. It's really struggling now. Yep. And yep, that's it. That's all, folks. It should be broke now. Ooh, new high score here. We've reached a load of 70. We made a game out of DDoSing Tom's site. All right. We'll see how long this goes on for. Time for another stick of RAM. Yeah. It'll be on a content delivery network before you know it. Share, present, share. Look, you guys even crashed net data this time. The server has stopped. That's it, folks. It's done. It stopped. No more data. Nothing. No data coming anymore. Oh, well. Put the CD up. No, Tom's going to stop because it's been 2.5 hours and it's fun. But yes, I have some other things I got to get done. Is it time for another stick of RAM? Maybe. What happens when the site gets hit by website crawlers? That hasn't had a problem at all. It's been hit by crawlers quite a bit. Go ahead. Let's do CNWR next. Absolutely. Just download more RAM. Absolutely. It's 404. Yep. Yep. Well, thanks everyone for joining. Thanks everyone for crashing my website. This is fun. Hopefully people get bored of doing it. And then if not, I'll stick a CDN in front of it. I'll just stick it in Cloudflare and that'll be that. Such is life. I'm going to get back to, I have some more projects I need to finish because I really have a lot of videos to get done. And I've got a bunch of projects started. I need to kind of like finish all of them, which does include that Homelab server. I definitely want to get back to that. Hit me up in the forums.lawrencesystems.com. I'm over there all the time. I try to check it daily. And thanks, everyone. This is Move Fast and Break Things. This has absolutely been the theme of this. Cloudflare stream now. Yeah, get to the 4-hour mark. Not today, man. Not today. And doing stuff like this live is hard because I'm not going to be interactive with the audience if I sit down because I focus and shut up. That's like if you watch how I stop when I type, I'm a single task person. That's as simple as it is, folks. Sorry to disappoint. The multitasking doesn't happen up here. I work on one thing at a time. That's how I get it done. If I try to work them all at once, it doesn't go well. But yeah, click the like button, all that fun stuff, and appreciate it. Take care, everyone.